I should do a Dante's Drive-In about movies that really scared me. Fuck! I cannot stop burping.
So Alan, what are we reviewing today?
Mega Piranha.
What do you think of Mega Piranha exactly?
It sucked.
It does suck, doesn't it? Well, that was a relatively short review.
Alright, DJ, I'm gonna go get something to drink.
Okay.
I'm back. Fuck you.
I think we are recording. You've never seen Dante Graves quite like this. Look, with one, no glasses. I haven't worn glasses in a long time, honestly. Not because I got LASIK. I'm not wearing contacts. I just one day, you know what the truth is, my cat Edgar scratched my glasses, and then there was like this little nick in the glasses that I'd keep like looking through them, and it was just irritating me so bad that I just took them off and I fucking winged them. I haven't worn them in so long that I've gotten used to just not wearing them. I've even gone and seen a couple films in the theater, and I was able to see the screen just fine. I was like, well, maybe I just don't need glasses. Then every now and again I put like my sunglasses on, which are prescription, and I'm like, oh shit, I actually definitely need glasses. Look at that! The fuck is going on? Some people have been also saying my hairline's receding. What do you guys think? Do you think it's receding? I mean, the thing is, right now you're experiencing like trauma. You're like, holy fuck, bring it back. I was right where you guys were at, but I promise, I think this is really gonna catch on. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a really, really sleek look. So I got a little buff, which I cannot stop flexing, like literally flexing, because I'm just like so proud of myself that I stuck with it, and working out has become a form of therapy for me. I think the shorter hair honestly goes better with this look. Maybe. If I bring the long hair back, it's because I'm going to make a Dante Graves short film. But I also feel like now that I've got the short hair going, I can become a hat guy, which this is a Iowa Cubs ball cap. Any baseball fans in the house? No? Didn't think so. I like baseball, and you know the other thing I like about baseball? The beer. Currently also sitting in a fucking lawn chair to record this one. All of these things. Basically, I came home from work today and I was like, you know what? I'm in the mood. Let's do a fucking Dante's Drive-In. Let's crank one out. And I was like, well, what do I want to talk about? And I couldn't think of anything. The only thing I kept coming back to, which also I'm in my garage, brand new Dante's Drive-In location. I figured we're on the depression arc, and I also know that I said during the Scream Dante's Drive-In, I said the next time you see me, I'll be happy again. I am happy. Not as happy as I'd like to be, but we're getting there. And I also figured the gym, baseball, and comic books cannot be the only forms of therapy. Me talking to you guys has to be a form of therapy, as well as rekindling my love of cinema. And I went and saw a movie recently that I loved so much that it inspired me to make this video, and I felt like the garage was just kind of like a cool new location to do it in. I'm getting way the fuck off topic. We just began. I have to lock in. So what is this Dante's Drive-In about? Because let's keep it focused. Let's not go on tangents this time. Let's keep it focused. I want to talk about the scariest movies that I have ever seen, okay? And the thing is, it's because of a movie I saw recently that did scare me, and which was Hokum, which we're going to talk about, but
Alan, what's taking you so long? Oh, nice costume. Oh! What the frick, man? What the... Ah! Okay, I can see you're the real Freddy, but... What do you want from me? If you want me to review the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, I won't do it!
I don't want to kill you, but I do want to torture you.
No! Killjoy 2? And Jason Goes to Hell? I'll never do it! I'll never do it ever! Okay, I'll do it! I'll do it!
Fear is completely subjective. And horror, the line between comedy and horror has always been so thin because what is scary to one person, what's funny to one person, is not funny to somebody else. And so there is no true, like, this is the scariest movie ever. Because you can show The Exorcist to somebody and they can say, like, yeah, it was just kind of boring, you know, and it will piss you off because I think The Exorcist is a pretty scary movie. I think it's also just a great movie. So if you think it's boring, I just think that you have poor taste. But not everybody's going to find The Exorcist as scary as I'm going to. People always say, like, that movie sucked, it wasn't scary. If I disliked every horror movie I saw that wasn't scary, I would only like maybe 3 or 4 horror movies, the ones that we're going to talk about in this fucking video. I think going into a horror movie in this day and age, expecting it to actually scare you, especially if you are a seasoned horror movie fan, you are going to be disappointed. Most of my favorite horror films are not scary to me at all. I just enjoy them as like films and pieces of media. I might find like concepts or themes in them kind of frightening, or maybe something about it stuck with me in some way after the film. But like, did they haunt me after seeing it? Did they frighten me? Like, there's a certain level of like, people will understand this. Like, when you're watching a horror film and you're scared while watching it, and it also scares you after. Or a horror film that when you watched it, it wasn't scary, but then in like a private moment, like when you're flicking off the light and going to bed at night or something, then it got to you after the fact. So like, for instance, I talked about Smile a long time ago. And that movie was one that like, when I was watching it, it was like, okay, this is a pretty scary movie, but I'm not like really terrified. After the fact, like when I was home alone, Smile kind of fucking got to me, you know? And it was like, the more I thought about it, it really scared me. And now I would say Smile is a scary movie. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Films that, I mean, every movie I'm about to mention, somebody else has said is not fucking scary at all, and it's stupid, and if you find it scary, it's because you're dumb and you're gay or whatever. And those people are stupid, okay? Because, like I said, what scares me is not going to scare you. I probably think that the movies you think are scary are boring as fuck. I thought The Blackcoat's Daughter sucked. I thought Long Legs was a fucking snooze fest, as you know. I reviewed it already. And, yeah. What scares... That was your cold open. Let's get started.
Freddy, those are my friend Alan's sodas. I don't think he'd be very happy. Oh!
So the original movie that I thought was the scariest movie I'd ever seen up to that point would be The Exorcist. But if we wanted to go even further back, something that I've always wanted to talk about, and I've yet to find a real good opening, but it's going to be something I expound upon a lot later. But the earliest thing that I ever saw that was horror in some way, that scared me, that haunted me afterwards, that really fucked with me, and it's like, so we're going to kind of go on a journey. Like, we're going to talk about these films in the sequential order of which I viewed them and why they bothered me in that moment. And that's what's going to be what's so scary about it. But the first scariest movie I ever saw is technically not a movie. It was the TV episode, the 2-part episode of Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask. Okay, and specifically the first one, but I actually do like Haunted Mask 2 better than the original Haunted Mask. But either way, we're talking about the Haunted Mask. Obviously, that's for kids. I watch it now as comfort food, and it's just delightful Halloween nostalgia. And we're gonna talk more in depth about Goosebumps at some point because I own every fucking Goosebumps book, and I have all these movies on tape. And, which, you know what, I should go get that tape. Okay, so I was going to fish out the books as well, but they were just buried alive. But here they are, the Goosebumps Haunted Mask VHS tapes that I had as a kid. These were not the ones. I went and repurchased these when I was tracking down stuff for my Goosebumps collection. But this one right here, that's the one we're mainly going to focus on because the book of this one scared me more, but this was the movie that fucking haunted me. So this was probably my earliest huge horror fixation, was Goosebumps. That's not uncommon. Most people say like Goosebumps started a lifelong horror obsession. There's even like memes about it and stuff. Goosebumps, very much, I'm part of that group. I saw this fucking tape at a babysitter's house, and she let me watch it. I probably would have been 3 or 4, okay? And I remember Halloween as a kid, driving around. For one, I was so fucking scared of somebody wearing a mask. I'm talking like earliest childhood memories. It would frighten me almost like I would feel so scared I thought I was gonna die. Like I felt like a level of being unsafe that as an adult I don't think you can really feel. And it was just, I remember just being petrified of a fucking mask. And I remember one Halloween, it's one of my earliest memories, driving around in the car after being done trick-or-treating and just being so scared that I wanted to go home because I was a pussy, and I was also an abused kid. And a lot of this was probably shit that I can't even bother to unpack. But I was so scared, I'm like, I want to go home, and I'm riding in my car, in the back seat of the car, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm seeing other kids, like, in costumes, just, like, faces obscured and stuff, and, like, the dead leaves, and it's nighttime, and it was just, like, I just felt so fucking afraid. Like, this whole night felt like pure evil to me. And then I since internalized it as my favorite day of the fucking year, and now this is, like, just, like, this warm hug to me. But at the time, it was the scariest thing I'd ever fucking seen. I remember watching this and then trying to sleep in my grandparents' basement with no one else there, and I remember having vivid night terrors. I'm talking like sleep paralysis of looking out my bedroom door at the living room that was out there and then the stairwell that went up like to the upstairs, and I was the only one down there. And I remember thinking that the masks at the end of Haunted Masks that are chasing after Carly Beth were floating down into the basement to like get me. And it was just like waking up in cold sweats and like trying to scream and nothing coming out. Like those like childhood night terror memories and stuff. This was such a huge cause of a lot of that stuff. And it has then since become like a part of my soul. It's crazy that we're getting this deep right off the get, but it's that like that moment, those masks floating after Carly Beth. That's the thing that I remember frightening me the most. And when you're a kid, things like that can scare you. Okay, and the other thing was not being able to take the fucking mask off. Haunted Mask, I think, is an early example of like childhood horror that deals with body horror. Losing your face, losing your soul to this thing, and not being like the stickiness of the mask to your face, not being able to take it off, not being able to breathe, and the sweatiness of it, and like, you know, like the hyperventilating, like Carly Beth, the actress, I don't remember her name, but Carly Beth, the character, I certainly remember, because I watch this thing every fucking year, for instance, around Halloween and stuff. As well as its sequel, Haunted Mask 2, which, like I said, I like better. Carly Beth, her performance, which is like, I can't get the mask off, Sabrina, I'm really freaking out here. Like, it's like, that's so fucking scary. Like, even as an adult, I'm kind of like, shit, this is scary. And I've showed it to, like, nieces, I've showed it to my little sisters and stuff. I've watched them react to it, and it still is really scary. As a huge Goosebumps fan, I can solemnly say that most of the books when I was a kid did not scare me. They all had moments, or not all of them, but quite a few of them had moments that were scary, and the same with the TV show. Haunted Mask, I feel like, is the one time, like when R.L. Stine, he's just sitting there just shoveling books out. He's doing The Nightmare Room, he's doing The Haunting Hour, he's doing Sphere Street, and he's doing this. Whether he was using a ghostwriter or not, I choose to believe that he was just pumping these books out, and he had an incredible fucking work ethic. It's not impossible to believe that he could write an entire Goosebumps book in one fucking day and then go on to working on something else the next day. So I choose to believe that. R.L. Stine is one of my heroes, and I love these books, and they're a huge part of my childhood and my personality and everything. I feel like Haunted Mask, though, is just this rare occasion that Goosebumps spit out a timeless, classic masterpiece. And I could talk about it more, but I feel like if I do, I'm going to, like, when I talk about Goosebumps at a later date, I'm not going to have as much to say, but I would like to say that Haunted Mask, when I was a child, terrified me, made me so afraid of the holiday itself of Halloween, and it kicked off who I am as a person today. That's how big of a fucking deal Haunted Mask is. Both the book and the movie, because eventually I know I rented the book from the library, and I wish I could have dug it out for you, because I do have it, first printing, but it would just be probably the most important thing to my horror fandom, if we really want to go there. Goosebumps was the start of it all. Goosebumps will always be a part of my soul, and The Haunted Mask will always be, I think, Goosebumps' crowning achievement, R.L. Stine's crowning achievement from the Goosebumps franchise. He's written better books, he's written whatever, but this will, I think, be what he's remembered for.
Well, okay, since Freddy Krueger happened to stop by my house, instead of giving me his autograph like he should, because I've seen like all of his movies, he decided to freaking make me review some shitty horror movies. And since featuring the fact that I reviewed Killjoy recently, I think I should probably review Killjoy too, because I said I would, and Kaylee's watching this, and I told you I'd review some more clown movies. So, Freddy, say hi to Kaylee.
Hello.
Wow, he's just a bucket of sunshine, isn't he?
This is hard for me, actually, to like discuss movies that scare me, because there's a lot of movies I'd like to bring up that I remember as a kid seeing them and them scaring me a lot. But I feel like talking about The Haunted Mask is probably the best example of like, okay, like this is something that scared me as a kid, doesn't really scare me now. But a couple movies that I just like to pay brief lip service to that I remember specifically getting to me, and it was strictly because I was a kid when I saw them, but I've rewatched them since, and I'm like, this ain't doing it for me. The Haunting in Connecticut. This movie, when it came out, like, it like petrified me. It was so scary. I can't remember what age I was. I probably would have been like 4th grade, and I watched it, and so much about it really fucking got to me. I think pretty much everything I'm going to mention is going to be something with like ghosts or paranormal activity of some kind, and not the movie Paranormal Activity, but that did scare me too. That's another one, Paranormal Activity. Like these things that deal with like the supernatural and like you're in a house that's haunted house movies really truly like really does frighten me a lot. And I think that's just something that specifically scares me. But I think so, like Haunting in Connecticut, Paranormal Activity. The Fourth Kind is another one that like kind of sucks, but like when I saw it as a kid, it really got to me. So extraterrestrial stuff also frightened me. But we're gonna talk about this one, and then we're gonna go into the one that like it's like the creme de la crop, like scariest movie I've ever fucking seen. So Creature from the Black Lagoon. Not scary at all. I love this movie. I think Gilman is badass, and I don't have any kind of like when I'm watching it any kind of fear. Even when I was a kid, I watched it and I just was really into it, and I just loved the creature and I loved the movie. But I will say, those summer days at the lake, in the lake, you know, going underwater and stuff, I was afraid of two things, and I've already brought up one, which was Jaws. And I've already talked about that, and I've talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. But the Gill Man was the other one. When he's underwater and he's just like gently like going to touch her foot. When you're treading water and stuff, that's something you think about. Like, is something going to touch my foot? And either a shark biting you and pulling you underwater, or something like you're being watched, but it's underwater. The Gill Man is almost like the Michael Myers of the lake, you know? And so I wanted to pay brief lip service to him, but because he did frighten me a lot as a kid when I was in the lake, like specifically when I was in the lake. Because it was like the fact that he could even rival how scared I was of Jaws, that's impressive, in my opinion.
Special effects are still pretty terrible. The ending on how they kill Joy is Killjoy is ridiculous, and I think it's quite possibly one of the worst movies I've ever made. And I would spend a little bit more time on this, but Freddy's probably going to kill me if I don't hurry up. So, Killjoy 2. It gets a 0 out of 10. Nothing is good in this movie, and I don't like it.
You know what scared me worse at that age? So there was a TV channel called Chiller when I was a kid, and I would record stuff like Tales from the Crypt, Freddy's Nightmares. Chiller was the first channel I saw the Friday the 13th series on, which I didn't like as a kid. But I also saw a lot of classic movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Like, I specifically remember recording these movies off of that TV station and watching them, and I loved that channel. It was awesome. One late fucking night in, I don't remember when, I recorded a movie called Pulse. Okay? And it was a fucking Korean movie. I didn't know anything about it, but I recorded it because I just recorded a ton of stuff off Chiller. And so I watched the movie Pulse when I was in 4th grade. This fucking hallway scene from this movie, can you see this? I'm getting goosebumps, okay? And not the fun kind, okay? I'm getting chills. I honestly, like this is the scariest scene in any movie to me. Nothing has ever got to me the way this scene does. If I watched it right fucking now, I would still be scared. But as a kid, staying up late at night at 1 a.m. watching this fucking weird movie I recorded that I had no context for, I'm even now starting to get scared of this little black blurb on the screen when it's just a fucking pile of chairs, okay? But Pulse really got to me for this reason. The reason I bring Pulse up, because it really scared me, I turned it off. That scene scared me so much. So I turned it off, and I watched Pulse again years later as a grown man. I was dating this girl, and we watched it in my home that I was renting. Like, I was old enough to be working a job and renting a place, and we watched Pulse, and Pulse still fucking scared me, if not more so, now that I was old enough to comprehend what the movie was about. Now that I was old enough to sit there and watch the whole thing and not just skim through it and find the whatever, you know. But once again, that fucking hallway scene, this is like my, like, I think, okay, like, trying to, like, unpack what is frightening about it. This is kind of a more informal drive-in, which all of them are informal. It's scarier now because it's, like, giving into nihilism, being more connected than ever, but feeling more alone and isolated than ever. It really is the perfect movie, the perfect horror film for the digital age. Okay, so we could talk about all that shit for days. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about why the movie fucking scares me. The scares in Pulse, none of them are jump scares. None of them are boogly woogly, ugly, hideous, deformed creatures. They are all just normal ass ghosts. But these ghosts represent people that have killed themselves, which is a chilling idea. These are people that have given into the depression, the isolation, the nihilism, which we ourselves feel like we could become one of. But how, I forget the name of the director, but he also did a movie called Cure, which is phenomenal. And it is, it's another movie that, like, even though it's not a horror film per se, when he wants to fucking freak you out, he can do it so easily. And Pulse is a movie where he kind of does it often. Pulse is a horror film. Pulse, the scares are set up where it's like, I'm going to show you what is supposed to scare you. And it's going to be clear the fuck over there. And it's going to move at you slow as fuck. But you're going to be in a corner where you can't move. And you don't know what it's going to do to you when it gets to you. But you know that you're scared of it. Okay? And it's just going to come at you as slowly as possible. And it tortures you. You are in a suspended state of being fucking terrified. Like Pulse, it's making my skin crawl right now. I'm feeling chills, but it's hot as fuck in here. Like, Pulse is a supernatural movie. It's the scariest movie I've ever seen. To this day, because I've watched it twice, and that's more than enough. I will only ever watch this again if I'm talking to somebody, and they're like, nothing scares me. I'll show them Pulse. And if Pulse doesn't scare them, then I will check their fucking pulse, because they might be fucking dead. Like Phantasm says, if this one doesn't scare you, you might already be dead, or whatever. Which, none of the Phantasm movies have fucking scared me. That woman walking down the hallway haunts me. The next movie I want to talk about is just because it's also another foreign, like it's like an Asian horror film. It's not a Korean horror film, it's a Japanese horror film. Well, technically it'd be the American remake of such. Not The Ring. The Ring did scare me when I looked up clips of it online, on whatever. Because that's how these things work. You just watch like clips and they frighten you. But when you get older, you sit there and you sit through a whole movie and it fucking scares you. But The Grudge, okay? The Grudge, what is her name? Is it Kayako? Kayako as a character specifically scares me. I can even get scared of like The Grudge 3. Like, I'm scared right now that like me talking about her is gonna summon her to like open this garage door and like the door to my garage, and she's gonna come out here and fucking I didn't want to do the noise myself. I had a girlfriend that could do the noise so well that she did it once when we were laying in bed, and it legit made me so upset I almost wanted to get out of the bed and sleep somewhere else. Kayako scares me. Probably for many of the same reasons that the scares in Pulse do, where it's like, I'm going to just show you this thing, and it's going to come at you very slowly, and you can't do fucking anything about it, and you don't know what it's going to do when it gets to you, but it's going to get you. You know, and it's... There's probably more to it that I can unpack, and if you can probably, find some sort of weird Freudian fucking thing where most of these scares are female apparitions. There's going to be another one coming up later that scares me for a very specific reason, but it is also a female apparition. And The Exorcist, which I'm going to talk about more in depth at some point, also is another thing that scares me a lot. And guess what? A female apparition, okay? So, or a female antagonist of some kind. Reagan, possessed by Pazuzu. So, either way, The Grudge just really scares me. And I feel like I did Pulse justice. Just trust that everything I said about Pulse kind of carries over to The Grudge. I saw this movie at a young age. It really fucking got to me. And I've since watched Ju-On, and I feel like Ju-On didn't scare me as much. I feel like a lot of the scares, they almost kind of like, they're like, okay, we've done this before. Now we know how to kind of perfect it once we do it again in The Grudge. And it does certainly help that I saw The Grudge before I saw Ju-On. So that's the one that left the impact on me.
They kind of still have this thing going on. They're not really over the whole Freddy versus Jason thing. Apparently, people think that Jason beat Freddy, which
Which he didn't.
No, yes,
You're
right. He didn't beat you. He didn't beat you. You kicked his ass. Okay. Just sit down. I'll finish the review.
That's what I thought.
The very first Insidious movie, to this day, scares me a lot, and I have a very specific reason why. But I would also like to point out that James Wan himself, because The Conjuring scares me, The Conjuring 2 scared me, in theaters more, they get less scary over time, especially like The Conjuring movies, but the Insidious movies, specifically the first two, the ones that James Wan directed, but each one has a little bit of like that muster to it. So I really love the Insidious franchise, but that first one, I think Insidious is a modern classic. I would go so far as to say... Do I want to say this? No, I think that'd be a bit absurd. It's so up there, though. I think Insidious is one of, so shut up. It's one of the best horror films of the 2010s. Because I believe this came out in 2013, okay? So, Insidious... It came out in 2011, actually, didn't it? I don't remember. I know that it came out, whatever. Tiptoe Through the Tulips haunted me. That fucking violin haunted me. The Lipstick Demon, all of the jump scares with him, especially the iconic one, super fucking scary. James Wan has always been a master of like using jump scares not as his sole thing to frighten you, but as a way to keep you on edge and on a perpetual sense of like holding your breath and clenching and shit like that. They stopped my recording as I was talking about why James Wan uses jump scares so well and so effectively. But basically, he uses jump scares as a means to keep you on edge. And there's a lot of times where, like, yes, an entire sequence will be building up to a jump scare, but the sequence itself, so like a great example, the little kid that's like dancing or whatever, and you see it when it's sunny out, you're outside, you're looking into the house. I'm gonna give myself goosebumps again. This stuff really scares me. The way that he frames this scare, the thing that you're supposed to be scared of, he's showing it to you very plainly. He's showing you, like, this is what's going to scare you, okay? It's in your house. You're outside. You have to go inside because your kids are in there. So, like, you don't really have the choice to just be like, well, I'll just fucking leave. I'm out of there. Like, no, your kids are inside. You know, you have to be a good mom. So you go inside, and then it's like searching around the house. A place that you should feel safe in, and it's sunny out, the windows are open, the breeze is coming in, but you are still, at the end of the day, alone. And so this frightens you. And the way he keeps teasing you with it, putting the kid in plain sight over and over again, and then eventually, yes, he gives you that burst of like, here's the jump scare, and then it kind of releases the tension. But he held it for so long that, like, the way the scare was executed keeps you on edge, because it's like, okay, well, is everything going to be that way? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes he doesn't give you that release. Sometimes the scare comes out of complete fucking nowhere. Like, you didn't realize that a scare was going to happen at that exact moment. So then he just gives you this roller coaster ride, and that's what makes these movies such crowd pleasers and so fun. But they're so good at what they are specifically doing. But the other thing that he has is he gives you lore and characters that you actually give a shit about, and that's interesting, which makes the movie rewatchable. In addition to that, these specific apparitions that he is showing you, these ghosts, these villains in the Insidious films. The first film has the lipstick demon. The second film focuses on the bride in black, who we're going to get to. The third film focuses on the man who can't breathe. The fourth film, I believe it's the key demon from the prison. And then the fifth film, I guess we go back to the lipstick demon, but there's a couple new ones in there. And then we've yet to see the sixth film. But I'm really excited to see it, because I love these movies. So, these apparitions he gives you, they have unique designs. They're iconic. But no matter how many times you see them, they are still scary. And that's just a testament to their design, but it's also a testament to the way that they're used in the film. They feel really, really mean-spirited. And these films also echo something that we're going to talk about in Hokum, where it's like something really simple, like just a really scary ghost, can still be effective if you just direct it hard enough. Speaking of specific ghosts, I've talked about this before in my Beyond the Graves episode with my friend Kay Lee, but the Bride in Black specifically frightens me. Nobody will ever believe me about this specific thing, but this is what makes this movie stick with me for so long, in addition to just all those other things we just talked about like how well he directs like the scares in this film. Because I know it doesn't affect a lot of people, but it's just the way he goes about it specifically strikes on my fear nervous sectors, like in all sorts of ways, okay? Fuck, my phone ringing just gave me like goosebumps. The Bride in Black, I used to dream about a woman that looked just like this. I'm getting chills. It's really actually kind of difficult for me to talk about this. So we're going to move on to something a bit more fun in a second here. But I used to dream about a woman that looked just like this, okay? Whether that was a complete coincidence, whether there is actually some supernatural deal to it, whether I was having like a vision of the future, whether James Wan and I both dreamed of the same woman, it's really frightening to think about. But I used to dream that I'd be in an apartment complex that was completely empty, and I would get locked in a closet, like pretending to hide from my grandmother. I was there with my grandmother, and I'd be like pretending that I couldn't open the door, but then I actually couldn't open the door. My grandma would be like, if you don't get out of there right now, I'm gonna leave without you. And then eventually she would leave without me, and then the fucking door would open. And now I'm a little kid, and I'm in this gigantic apartment complex all by myself, and then that woman would come out and start chasing me. And I would have these fits of pure terror in the middle of the night. And I had no parent to come comfort me. I had no anything to come comfort me. And so these fits of just sheer fear. And then I go see this movie called Insidious, and that woman is in the movie. And I was so scared I thought I was gonna die. Okay? And then they describe Josh, the father figure, Patrick Wilson's character. I believe his name is Josh. I could be wrong. They described the way that this woman tormented him as a child and that she's coming after him in the further and stuff like that. Very similar to the way that I felt about this. And so I felt so seen by this movie in a way that felt almost like evil. Like it felt like the movie was looking back at me. And so the journey that Josh goes on, I want to say his name is Josh. I hope that I'm not getting that wrong, because I've seen these movies tons of times. The journey that the father goes on throughout Insidious, Insidious 2, and especially Insidious, The Red Door, was so cathartic for me. But even still, it scares me. And one day when I talk about the Insidious movies again, we'll revisit this topic, and I hope that I can one day not be as scared of it. But Insidious is probably, if it was like gun to my head, scariest movie I've ever seen, it's Insidious. And it's just because of that, okay? There's tons of other shit that bothers me, that has frightened me, but this movie, every time I revisit it, it really, really gets to me. And so when people tell me that they don't think it's scary, I mean, we just fundamentally have a disconnect on what scares us, is the thing.
We're gonna review Jason Goes to Hell because he wanted. Don't freaking take my Pepsi. Let go of that. Now, get back. Get back. No, sit down. I'm reviewing your movie just like you said. Just sit down. Sit down. Jason Goes to Hell.
I want to talk about Dead Silence because a lot of the fears that I had about the Bride in Black from Insidious also extended to Mary Shaw from... I'm going to get emotional again. You know what? And it's okay. This one's going to be a little bit happier, and it's going to be a bit more of like a cathartic experience. Mary Shaw petrified me because she evoked a lot of the same fears I had of that woman that I would dream about. But the Bride in Black was scarier, okay? But Mary Shaw terrified me before the Bride in Black did. Mary Shaw terrified me probably the most of anyone in any movie for the longest time. And even to this day, again, I watch Dead Silence, and there's bits that I'm like, I'm really scared, okay? And Dead Silence is not one of James Wan's better movies, but it might be my favorite of his films because of Mary Shaw as a character. Because as I got older, I really gained an appreciation for the makeup effects, for the performance that Judith Roberts gave. And I'm going to share something really personal with you guys. And I'm going to be really heartbroken if I share this and then something bad happens, but I'm not going to speak that into the universe, okay? So, eventually, Scarefest, a convention I love attending, and I wish I had footage of this interaction, but I have a photo, okay? Judith Roberts is announced as a guest for Scarefest, and I learned that she is 91 years old at the time that she was announced. And I said, gosh, I really hope that she makes it to that convention because I would like weep at the chance to meet her because she scared me so bad, but then she scared me so much that the way I got over my fear of Mary Shaw, even though I'd still be fucking terrified if I saw Mary Shaw in real life, of course, because who wouldn't? And this movie still scares me. The way I got over my fear was I learned a lot about Judith Roberts. And I also, Eraserhead, a fantastic film. She appears in it, and she's fucking beautiful. And then I also realized, and maybe it's weird or inappropriate to say, Mary Shaw, like, you know, obviously take away all the fucking ventriloquist demon makeup, okay? Mary Shaw, when she appears in the film, just normal, Judith Roberts is really beautiful, even as a really old woman. So it's Scarefest, and I like to drink, okay, so I'm a bit looser, and I'm more willing to say certain things, and I go up to her booth, and there's a hell of a fucking line. She's right next to Zach Galligan, and we met Zach Galligan quick, and then I got into Mary Shaw's line, and I was getting closer and closer, and I was just seeing this old woman hunched over. She got back problems and stuff, and that broke my heart. But, you know, she was so excited to be there, and she was signing everything and talking to people, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I've had enough to drink. I'm just going to tell her my honest feelings, okay? I get up to her, and I had her sign, obviously, something about Mary Shaw, but I did talk to her about Eraserhead. But I remember vividly telling her, I said, out of anybody in this building, you scared me more than anyone ever has, which is probably true. I mean, the Bride in Black, yes, but, you know, when you're talking to somebody, you're just going to tell them the best thing, and she'd be the second scariest. So I told her, and she was the first, is the other thing. So that does make it more special. But I said, I'm like, you were the scariest person. You've frightened me more than anyone else in this building, and I'm so thankful that you did that. And then I told her, I said, when I saw Eraserhead for the first time, I immediately clocked you as the neighbor that Spencer is like fantasizing about, and it's because you were so beautiful. And I said, and you're just as breathtaking now. And Judith Roberts got really emotional, and we shared a lot more that I don't really want to talk about. We sat there and we talked for quite a while, and she held my hand the whole time that we were talking. She had tears in her eyes, and we talked about David Lynch. We talked about, briefly about Dead Silence. We talked about her career as an artist. She asked me if I'm an artist, and I said I am. And then we took a picture together, and I ended up I had a photo op, and I had a selfie with her. So I have 2 pictures of me and Judith Roberts, okay? And when I had to walk away, she would not let go of my hand, and she's like, thank you so much for coming to see me. And I was like, no, thank you. And she's like, you're a very lovely young man. And I was like, you are a very lovely woman, okay? So then later in the convention, she's like walking away from her booth or something. This is like a day later, because that was Friday. On Saturday, I almost bump into her because they're like moving her somewhere because she's going to go like on a break or something. And then she saw me and she was like, oh, hello again. And I was like, she fucking remembers me. And then, so she leaves. And then fucking Sunday, last photo op I bought, and I bought this one that was the first photo op I bought. And I was like, I need to be able to have this. It was a photo op with her and Billy from the movie, the ventriloquist dummy. And I go in there alone, and I'm so nervous. And I'm like, why am I nervous? I've really met this woman before already. And when I go in there, I'm the last person in line. And, I like come up from around her because they're still taking pictures with this person. And when I come around, she's like looking back here. I miss her. And then she locks eyes, and she was like, I was hoping I'd see you again. And so then I sat down, and then we took the picture, and I was like, I'm going to miss you. And she's like, I'll miss you too. And she's like, thank you for coming this weekend. And I was like, the thing is, these things that scare you so much, like when, Goosebumps, I told you how fucking bad it scared me. One of my earliest memories just being terrified of Halloween and stuff. And now my favorite fucking time of year is Halloween. It's like, I can't unpack why I feel the way I do about these things. All I know is that I developed this really deep connection with Judith Roberts. And she never knew me before that day. And I'm sure so many people have this same exact connection. A really good friend of mine, Sarah, she's a great cosplayer. And I met her during Horror Hound. And then I saw her again at Scarefest, and she did this incredible Mary Shaw cosplay, and it was like so comforting to interact with somebody who looked just like Mary Shaw, who was so kind to me. And then in the meeting Judith Roberts, and she was so kind to me also, it healed this traumatic thing for me. But then I realized it was never the trauma. Mary Shaw was my outlet from what was actually scaring me, which was like my parents. And all this like real world stuff. And that interaction, Mary Shaw gave me this like healthy way of being afraid, of being able to kind of like do exposure therapy and expose myself to my fear over and over again until it became fun and I liked scaring myself. And then those other things weren't as scary no more. And then I meet this woman, and it's like, without even having to verbalize everything I just said to her, she could sense that that's what it was. And so we had this connection. And I told her, I said, and I know that David Lynch is not a perfect guy, but I told her, I said, I miss him every day. And she said he was a wonderful artist. And I'm like, yes, he fucking was. He was such a wonderful artist. Fucking Christ. This is Dante's Drive-In. This isn't pussy baby cry baby hour. Let's lock in.
Just leave, no. Oh, my arm. What's in your arm? I knocked off your hat. Enjoy this. I killed Freddy, so, guess there's all there is to it.
The movie that we came here to discuss, because it's the thing that gave me the idea to do this, is Hokum, okay? I went through a breakup, and I'm dealing with it in my own way, and I think I'm dealing with it in a pretty good way. I'm getting out of a 10-year relationship. It's basically like a fucking divorce, man. That shit fucking blows. You know how bad that shit sucks? This shit sucks. So, the one thing that I didn't do, which I normally do during most of my breakups, is I divest myself into cinema and into film, and I experience all sorts of new films, and I really just try to because that's my safe space, that's my home, you know? I say one day, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go treat myself to a movie. I'm gonna go to a movie by myself. What do I wanna go see? I had heard about Hokum. I had heard it was pretty scary. I seen an ad for it on Tubi. I think it was Tubi. And I was so fucking drunk at the time that I saw it. But I was like, oh shit. Scary bunny man. God damn, I can't stop moving. Scary bunny man guy. Adam Scott is in the movie. These are all things I like. So I was like, okay, well, let's give that a chance. And then when I was like, one day I had a free fucking movie ticket from the Cinemark movie rewards thing. I was like, let's go, treat myself to a movie. So I went and saw Hokum. Let's I have the perfect way to discuss Hokum. All right, I'm lazy, so I'm going to play some audio messages of me talking to a friend of mine after seeing the film Hokum.
You definitely are going to fucking love that movie. I cannot stress this enough. You have to see that fucking movie. I was so fucking scared, but I was also just so invested in the story, and it was like, it wasn't like a baby movie. It was like, damn, I feel like I'm watching like an adult big kid ass movie, but I'm so spooked. And it didn't rely on like gore. There were some jump scares. I mean, but they're really, really good ones. And I don't know. I just cannot say enough nice things about that. I was pleasantly surprised because I knew I would probably like it. I liked the trailers for it and stuff, but I don't know. I also went in mostly blind, so if you don't know like a shit ton about it, just go in and fucking watch it. I'm watching around the duck pond right now, but I cannot fucking stress enough how much you will love this movie. Tell me as soon as you've seen it.
So, Hokum. Everyone knows, I'm not going to describe the plot to you, but I think the biggest thing I want to hammer in about Hokum, because I thought it was really scary, really engaging, expertly directed, expertly acted. I just thought it was a perfect movie. Easy as fucking 5 stars I've given anything in a long fucking time. What Hokum really drives home, though, is like a haunted house, a witch, a dark basement, a murder mystery, a scary thing crawling after you. Like Halloween, like this kind of stuff. Those things can still pack a punch. Nothing has to be a fucking deep expression of trauma or a critique of modern society. I mean, granted, Hokum actually does have quite a bit going on below the surface, but it doesn't have to be those things. Those things are like bonuses, and they're icing on the cake. But what Hokum does first and foremost is just gives you a great fucking movie, classic scares, and directs them to the fucking umpteenth degree. And I just loved it. I really fucking was so into this movie. I didn't want to get up to pee because I was like, fuck, I'm gonna miss something. You know how, like, most movies you could sit there and be like, okay, I'll probably go pee right now because nothing's gonna happen. Hokum did not have that. Hokum kept me guessing. Hokum was fun. It was spooky, like old school spooky, and I just loved it. And I think I would go harder in the paint about it, but I'm hiccuping a shit ton, and I just talked a bunch about a bunch of other shit that was way more exhausting to talk about. But I had to pay lip service to it because it was the movie that got me thinking about, like, I should do a Dante's Drive-In about movies that really scare me. Fuck! I cannot stop burping.
So I hope you enjoyed my forced reviews of, you know, these movies. And are you freaking kidding me? What do you want, Michael? Fuck.